How scientists installed a camera in the coffin. What they saw during the observation process shocked a small group of people stood by the open coffin. Just a few people came to the funeral. The fingers of two hands would be enough to count them all. On the side, in a car park nearby, sat two guys who were looking forward to saying goodbye to the deceased. When the last person left the cemetery, they got out of the car, and the sister of the deceased hastened to announce that everything was ready to go to the house for commemoration. She invited everyone for a funeral dinner. Some women insisted that they need to wait until the coffin is lowered into the grave to throw a handful of dirt. Kaylee was sobbing and fidgeting on the spot. She did not want people to see that she had agreed to participate in some experiment, but it was indecent to drive everyone out of the cemetery. She had to explain what two young men would do now to the coffin. Their task was to install a camera in the coffin of the deceased. The woman was uncomfortable, telling people that she decided to make money off her dead brother, so she kept silent about the monetary reward, and the young scientist who installs the camera explained that this was a scientific study. Everyone was fine with the sister's decision to help science, and no one condemned her. Everything is ready. Bring the lead. When the camera installation was over, one of the guys commanded the sister, covering her mouth with her hand, watched as they twisted two screws and on the ropes lowered the coffin into the grave. She wiped away her tears and scooped up a handful of dirt. I am sorry, the woman said, putting a hand on her shoulder. Kaylee looked at her in confusion. She didn't know anyone here, rarely spoke with her brother, and was sure of only one thing. He had neither a family nor a woman with whom he would have a close relationship. Then the grave was covered with earth, and this woman, who was the initiator of everyone throwing earth into the grave, remained near Kaylee, sharing her memories of Nicholas. The sister of the deceased listened to this old lady through force. What makes her think that I am interested in these conversations? My brother was 7 years older. We did not have common interests. If not for his sudden death, then I would not delve further into his life. Kaylee's thoughts were about something else, feeding these few acquaintances and getting back to her daily life. But the obsessive woman enlightened his sister in some ways. My brother was a very good person. He bequeathed all his real estate to a nursing home. It somewhat angered Kaylee as she had to organize a funeral, collect all the documents, and organize a commemoration, of course. But now, the nursing home is taking her brother's house and will be in abundance. The elderly woman was not happy that all the worries fell on her shoulders. But still, she managed to get something from her brother on the day of his death. She came to visit Nicholas and found him sleeping on the sofa. She later realized that he was not breathing. The ambulance team confirmed that the man was dead. She went to the hospital with him because she did not know what people usually do in such cases. Doctors said the man would be sent for an autopsy to determine the cause of death. Kaylee was pious. She asked to skip this procedure, but it was explained to her that the rules would not be violated. If a person has not suffered from any diseases, an autopsy is mandatory, and the sister remembered that her brother had complained about his heart. They found out that the man really had cardiac problems, but only a pathologist can tell the exact cause of death. The elderly woman had no choice but to agree, but these two boys helped. It turns out that for several days they had been looking for volunteers who would agree to the experiment. Since they arbitrarily could not conduct any experiments on the dead body, they needed the consent of their relatives. So far, there were no applicants, so this sister and brother were the perfect option. Kaylee regrettably informed them that a pathologist would soon take care of her brother, but in the end, these young scientists convinced the doctors that there was no need to do an autopsy. After discussing the diagnosis of the disease, they decided that death really occurred due to the pathology of the heart. The elderly woman was happy for the fact that the body of her brother would not be defiled child. She was sure that if he had the opportunity to express his opinion, he would also prefer to be buried intact. Her conscience still torments her. She had some video camera in the coffin. They did not violate the commandments of God. You can't bring your brother back, but the extra money won't hurt anyone. Of course, it was the reward that made her agree to this offer. The participation fee for this experiment was high, so, with the death of her brother in her life, there appeared not only sorrow but also joy. On the same day that the cameras were installed in the coffin, she received a $10,000 transfer. Kaylee did not believe to the end that the experiments would keep their word, the experimenters would keep their word, and that she would receive a reward so quickly. This gift was so nice, especially after she learned at the funeral that her brother gave his money to some random old people. It turned out that there was a reason why the sister didn't like this talkative woman at the funeral. The woman was an employee of a nursing home. As Kelly guessed, she probably was trying to become close to her lonely brother in order to take his house. She knew about the construction of the house earlier, but she decided not to worry about it. She hadn't thought about it before, and now there was no reason to be upset. Somewhere you win, somewhere you lose. With scientists, it turned out to be even more profitable. Let this strange lady take care of Nicola's house, and the experiment that Kelly agreed to was very simple. She did not want to know the results. It was too unpleasant. Scientists had to observe the decomposition of the body. The battery that powers the camera will last about a year. It will not shoot constantly. It will automatically turn on once a day for 1 minute, exactly at 2300 hours. The camera will record what is happening and then turn off again. These are the details that scientists gave her. She thought that this nonsense would not benefit anyone but her. She could improve her living conditions and go on a cruise. She is under 60 years old, but she is a woman and has the right to dream. After the funeral, Kelly went home. She could completely forget about the brother. Fortunately, they never became close. She would not grieve for him much. The scientists had to watch her brother for a year. The most interesting thing will be when all the data is collected. But first, they need to check whether everything is working well. The two guys waited impatiently for the camera to turn on to make sure everything was set up correctly. This time, it's late. They wanted to get home as soon as possible. But on the first day, they saw something weird. They rewound the minute long tape several times to make sure they saw what they saw. They discussed the video, trying to find a logical explanation for it. The body could move when it was lowered into the coffin or when the lid was closed. Actually, there were few options, and none of the two could explain why the body was not at all like at the funeral. The hands were at the head, and the body itself was bent, as if the man was trying to get out of the coffin. The guys no longer thought about getting home. They decided to go to the cemetery and dig up the grave. They did everything on their own because getting permission to excavate would most likely take time, and if it turns out that their assumptions are correct, then every minute can matter. It turned out that their decision was right. The man in the coffin was alive. Nicholas needed the help of doctors, but in general, the guys pulled him out on time. A little more and he might not have been saved. The former deceased described his death. It was his sister who poisoned him. That day she came to visit him, started talking about diamonds again, and said that she was already pretty tired of these conversations and that it would be better for him to voluntarily share them with her. They drank tea. Nicholas, as always, was choking, and then he felt that he was falling asleep. His sister helped him to the sofa. He couldn't do anything with his eyes closed. Through the dream, he saw Kaylee looking for something around the room. He realized that his sister had put something in the tea. To search the house, the elderly man did not expect such a dirty trick and, of course, did not think that his sister wanted to kill him. But he woke up in a coffin. Apparently, the sister went too far with sleeping pills. He really had problems, and it was surprising that after such a large dose of medicine, she survived it all. But somehow, he got lucky. Kelly did not want to put her brother down. She planned to find the diamonds and take them while her brother was sleeping. Knowing her brother, he would not turn to the police, and if he does, she would deny everything. But she did not find any jewelry in the house. She tried to wake up her brother to force him to confess where he had hidden the diamonds, but he did not show signs of life. That's why she came up with this plan. She put the corpse away so no one could see that they drank tea together, and stated that she discovered her brother's body when she entered his open house. She was left with nothing, but fortunately, no one suspected anything. And then this scientist showed up, so she decided that at least she would get something from her brother, having agreed to the experiment and received a pleasant monetary reward. The elderly woman sat at home and planned her luxurious cruise, and when the doorbell rang, she was very surprised to see the deceased accompanied by policemen. The sister did not think that her brother was alive, and the fact that she was trying to earn on his death actually saved his life. Of course, Kelly had to be punished for what she did, but at the insistence of the victim, she was given a minimal sentence. Nicholas had no diamonds for a long time. He did not need them for himself, and he let it go for the good cause. He helped children with oncology. It is a pity that his sister had to spend some time in the prison cell because of this inheritance instead of going on the desired cruise. But greed leads to nothing good. It is better to have little but honestly earned than to try to get someone else's. Nicholas continued to enjoy fishing and did not understand why people wanted some kind of overseas resorts, yet there are so many wonderful places around. Thank you. Please subscribe to our channel to get more content like this. And please turn on the notification bell so that you can notify whenever we post a new video. Thank you for my existing subscribers, and love you, prospective subscribers as well. Thank you.